Now that your picture's in the paper being rhythmically admired, you can have any one that you have ever desired. All you gotta tell me now is wow, 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 wow.
Hey everybody, welcome to Effortless. I'm Spiegel, he's Piddle.
Hello.
So the main reason I don't think gaming is as good today is because you just can't look back at games that come out in 2015 in 5 or 10 years and say, those were really good. I want to go back and play those. It just doesn't happen anymore. These games are terrible. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, you know what? This is the second take we've done. You did it the exact same way, just straight down to business.
Yeah, well, you know what? We don't have time for pleasantries today. We're just gonna go right through. And this is the show, so if you don't like it, turn it off.
Bam.
Just turn it off. I don't want your viewership if you don't like it.
So, with more recent games, yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't feel compelled to go back and play them. And I've tried to go back and replay several games from the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 generation.
Yeah, it's hard to even go back to those, and there's some classic games on those systems.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
For example, Journey, which won Game of the Year from...
Okay, bad example. Journey is great. I would play it again right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Would
I
you?
love that game.
Try it in 6 months.
I'm going to play it while we're doing this show right now, and I'll beat it during the show.
Well, personally, I tried to go back to it, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get back into it for whatever reason. And I've tried with Fallout 3. I've tried to get back into
That's what I was going to bring up. Because I also tried to play Fallout 3 just the other day. I was trying to do it for 52, and it's just I can't do this.
I don't know
this
what
is one of my
is.
favorite games of all time.
It's weird, too, because I remember playing it for the first time and, stepping out of the vault and being like, whoa, this game just looks amazing. It offered so much. And, I mean, when I finished it, I tried to go or continue with my quest, really, and sort of collect more things and flesh out my stats and my inventory. And I couldn't do it. But I figured, it's probably because I've just put 60 to 80 hours into the game. But then going back trying to play the game again, it was same deal. I just couldn't do it. I was done.
It was just why am I going back and revisiting this piece of history? I've never felt this way with older games that you just can't go back again. I'm trying to even think of a game that Pikmin 2 is maybe the most recent example of a game I tried to play and I just couldn't for whatever reason. And that I've played that 50 times. So I mean that might just be I've played it too much. But
there are games that I know I can't go back to just because I put too much time into them. For example, Uncharted 2, I played the crap out of that game. I beat it probably on normal, hard, crushing difficulty. I beat it on every difficulty, collected all the collectibles you could get, and put a ton of time into the multiplayer. And although I can go back to the multiplayer and play the multiplayer because, I don't know, there's something about Uncharted 2's multiplayer that's just so streamlined, simple, but has depth to it that I love, even though the lag is atrocious. But the single player, man, every single time I started up, that introduction sequence with the train hanging over the edge of a cliff starts. It's just oh man, I got to go through 20 minutes of interactive cutscene right now, and I can't do it. I'd rather just put the controller down and let the cutscene play while I walk away and do something else for 20 minutes.
So for what it's worth, since we're already on Sony, let's go ahead and talk about this. And the reason I kind of brought this up is because they kind of recently announced that PS2 games would be able to be emulated on PS4, and people are kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
And now take this with a grain of salt, because looking at the article, it doesn't really seem to be definitive about anything that it's saying. I don't even have the article in front of me, so clearly I'm prepared for this. Here we go. So this is from Kotaku.com. PS2 emulation is coming to the PS4. This is from Luke Plunkett. Thank you, Luke. As I wait for the article to load, I'm going to just keep talking and talking. Here we go. Come on. Oh, my God. This is terrible.
Here, so I'll just interject while you read it.
Yeah. Okay.
So for those who don't know, I believe it's the Star Wars Battlefront on PlayStation 4, you can get, I believe, access to some of the PlayStation 2 Star Wars games. And they are emulated on your PlayStation 4. And Digital Foundry did a little tech analysis and found that, everything is at a higher or renders at a higher resolution. It's not rendering at normal 480, I don't know, P or I that the PlayStation 2 did. So it's a definite graphical or resolution upgrade, and it's definitely PlayStation 2 content being emulated on PlayStation 4. And so the question going forward is, when is PlayStation 2 content officially going to come to the PlayStation 4?
And the answer to that question is, we are working on utilizing PS2 emulation technology to bring PS2 games forward to the current generation, Sony told Wired. We have nothing further to comment at this point in time. Now, the way they're handling this is so Nintendo, I can't even believe it. Like, this is exactly what Nintendo did when they announced that Wii games were coming to the Wii U, and you could emulate them, just basically through Wii mode. And you bought these games, and they basically were just Wii games running in Wii mode, but you downloaded them to your system, so you had them. But they only announced like 3, and then 3 of them came out, and then we heard nothing for a very long time. And that seems like exactly what Sony's doing. Here's these games that are coming out that are PS2 games, the Star Wars games, and then they have nothing else to announce. Well, clearly it's ready because they're doing it. The games are being emulated, so what's the holdup?
I'm really curious if the issue being presented for these companies is just the emulation isn't working quite as intended with all the release titles, so they can't release everything. But with the Wii U, that doesn't make sense to me because it has Wii mode. So it should just be emulating the games through Wii mode.
I mean, Nintendo sucks, right? I mean, that's why it's not working.
Pretty much, because I actually think you can do more through a hacked Wii mode than you can do through their official, through any official means. I mean,
you can play GameCube games now, right?
Yeah, you can play like GameCube games. You can play Wii games. You can pretty much play any game you want from that involves a disc on your Wii U.
I mean, Nintendo has just completely botched it. They've completely botched it, and Sony is going down the same path. Before I was saying, well, Sony doesn't have backwards compatibility, but at least they're not like pretending that they do. But this is just a joke. I mean, like, you're bringing PS2 games to this system. How about you bring PS3 games to this system, and stop just messing around with that? I hate that.
Well, we both know that it all comes down to re-releasing content and
making the money.
Yeah.
People will buy it, so they're going to do it, and it's just it's a sad state of affairs.
I think they really just want PlayStation Now to take off.
So gaming sucks. The end. That's the end of the show. This is the last episode of Effortless we're ever going to do.
Take the power away from the consumers. That's all it is.
We are retiring from video gaming. I'm never going to play another game. And with that, let's talk about some games that we're going to play, or that we played this week in our 52 games in 52 weeks. We have to at least make it through the 52 weeks. Then we can stop playing games.
Okay. I'll do that.
So how many games did you beat this week? Did you beat The Witcher?
I beat The Witcher finally.
Yes.
Finally beat Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And man, that was quite I can't really call it a slog because it was fun.
Fun slog. It was like it's like an obstacle course on one of those game shows.
And man, I'm poorly prepared because there was so much I wanted to talk about, and now I'm like, uh-oh, what did I want to say about The Witcher 3? So I guess
that's all right. This is Effortless.
Yeah, it is. So I guess I'll get started with it's a good game. It is, well, better than good. It is a great game. It is definitely going in my top 50 somewhere. I talked about this last week. Yeah. And I think it's likely going in my top 25. I said even maybe my top 10, but I'm always so apprehensive about putting games that I've just played in my top 10.
I understand that.
Because I know that, like, if I go back and play them, will I feel the same way about it? Maybe not.
But you told me when you finished, you said the mark of this game being great is that I finished it and I wanted to play it again.
Yes.
So I think that answers your question right there.
Yeah, I finished, and this is an amazing thing for me because more and more with open world games, when I finally beat them, I'm just done. Skyrim was sort of an exception, but Skyrim I only really kept playing because it had mod support, or fantastic mod support on PC. And so I kept playing it, and it had nothing there for me anymore, since I don't know, that's just sort of the way Skyrim is. But I was done for the most part. Fallout 3, which we just talked about, I finished that game. I did not want to go back to it. Having beat Arkham Knight recently, I might go back to it someday, but right now I have zero interest in going back to it. And if I do go back to it, it's not going to be to replay the main mission. It's going to be to experience the rest of the story through the side missions. So beating The Witcher 3, and immediately what I wanted to do was go back and play some more of it, complete everything, finish collecting all the Gwent cards, which I'll talk about in a minute.
I think that says a lot.
Yes, and I immediately downloaded and installed or reinstalled The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings on my computer because, I don't know, I feel like I have such a better understanding of the world of The Witcher, and I want more of it.
Would you say that The Witcher 3 is a good jumping off point for people, or like do you have to kind of go back and like start from a more basic level? Because I hear The Witcher 3 is like super intense with like the level of detail and like stuff that you have to do.
One of the great things about The Witcher 3, and I've read this in multiple reviews as well, is that you don't really need to have the background from the first two games in order to really enjoy it.
Well, that's good.
Because although the story picks up from where the previous games left off,
is there a synopsis?
It gives you background, and it gives you context as you play it.
Good.
So you're still invested in it. And again, it's more about all the characters that you come across and their stories. One of the things that I'd like to say about The Witcher 3 is it tells stories so well, it is almost ridiculous. Because I'm playing through it, and one of the great quests stories throughout the entire game, it involves a man known as the Bloody Baron. And for those of you who have played the game...
Sounds like Harry Potter, doesn't it?
For those of you who have played the game, you'll know... I mean, you know why I'm bringing this up. But I'm trying to explain this story of the Bloody Baron to my girlfriend. And I can't do it because there are so many different aspects of the story that come together. It's impossible to explain. Like, you're dealing with witches, you're dealing with several primary characters and then secondary characters. You're dealing with the individual problems of every one of those characters, and it just, the way that everything weaves together, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it happen in a game before.
Yeah, I'm really excited to experience this game for the first time. Like, again, I've got too much on my plate right now, but early next year, after I finish Xenoblade Chronicles and we kind of hit another gaming drought, I think I'm going to be able to really dig into The Witcher, and we'll talk about how I'm going to do that in a little bit. But do you have any other things to like kind of quickly get out, because we kind of talked about it a little bit over the last
we've talked
weeks.
about it a bit. I mean, game looks gorgeous. The controls can be a little frustrating. Combat is one of it's sort of mixed. Like, you feel really good when you go through a battle and you don't screw up and you're dodging your enemies and counterattacking and parrying them flawlessly. But it's not like a lot of modern games where the combat is, an enemy is going to attack, you just press a button and you automatically dodge it, you automatically counterattack. And it's really, like, the timing window is very big and it's very generous. More to make you feel like you're a badass. Witcher 3 is not like that. If you press the dodge button, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to dodge the attack. You really have to work on your character's positioning in the game. You really have to... You can't just sort of tank through the battles. I mean, on the normal difficulty, you can. Most people suggest at least going up one step up above the normal difficulty to really get a good experience. That wasn't something I did this time, but I plan to replay it, and I plan to bump up the difficulty the next time I play. So, controls are typically open world. So, I mean, if you've played any of the Assassin's Creed games, you know how frustrating that can be. And I think it's a testament to how well the game like introduces all the other elements with the story and the questing and the variety of all those and how they work together, that the sometimes poor and frustrating controls, especially with the horse, can be completely overlooked. Because if I'm going to score this game, which I will right now so we can move on, I'd give it 5 out of 5.
Wow. So one last question. Would you say that this is like the first truly like great game of this generation? Because we lament this gen all the time for being terrible with the install times and mediocre games and AAA releases that don't live up, day one patches, all that stuff. But does The Witcher 3 overcome all of that and become the first like great game?
I honestly think, yeah, it is. It's probably the first game. It couldn't have been done on the last generation. On PC, like, I guess it could have, but
you played it on PC, so
yeah. But
so that's the most ironic thing of all. I don't even know if it runs well on Xbox One, but we'll see.
It actually runs about as well on my PC as it would on Xbox One. I looked into it.
Okay.
And what I will say is the game does a great job with load times, at least on PC. The load times are very, very manageable. Fast travel works pretty quickly. You don't have to... There's none of the nonsense where you go into a building and there's a 10 to 20 second loading screen. And speaking of that, we're going to shortly talk about a game that just came out that has those pitfalls still.
Yes, shortly.
So,
but you got your score?
It's really good. I mean, it's a game that couldn't have been done last generation, and it's done so well. I can't
made for this gen.
Yeah,
basically is what you're saying.
It is probably a game that I will be pitching to people for quite a while.
I am so excited. I'm so very, very excited to try this game after I play Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I'm anticipating even more hotly than that game.
Did you want to go into the game games that you beat this week?
Games, yes. I'm going to go with the second one I beat first because I have a lot more to say about the first one. I beat New Super Mario Brothers U 2 days ago, and which is like,
Wait,
it's a 2012.
You beat it?
Yeah, I did. I went back and I actually so I got really frustrated at one point that I had to go all the way back because I didn't save because I was stupid, and like I had to go all the way back to like World 6 after I died, lost all my lives on the last level of World 7. And I was like, I'm never playing this game again. It pissed me off like unbelievably, and that was on probably Sunday.
I love it.
I went back on Thursday and I just beat it because the level design late in the game is so good. This is probably one of the best Mario side scrollers Nintendo has ever made, to be completely honest. And the more I think about it, the more I want to raise the score of this game.
It is. It is actually, I think, one of my favorite Mario side scrollers. I think I would probably put it behind Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers 3.
I think I would agree with that, and it's super easy to become jaded by these new Super Mario games, and that's how I was when I first started it, because it was just like, this is easy and it has the same stupid music that they've had for like 10 years in these games, but it's so, I don't even know, it's just really good. It's a really, really good game, and you can get it for cheaper now, and it's a Wii U game, so you definitely need a Wii U game. Just buy it. It's fantastic. It's the best Mario side scroller since Super Mario World or Yoshi's Island, I guess.
If there's one thing the Wii U doesn't lack compared to the other systems, it's great games. They
great
might not be as big and epic
too,
and whatever full of glitches as other console games, but it has great games between like Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, and New Super Mario Brothers U and Super Mario 3D World.
Those are just the platformers. You get
Bayonetta 1 and 2 because you get them together.
Pikmin 3. You hate Rayman Legends, but I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8.
Wind Waker HD.
Yeah. Super Smash Brothers, Splatoon, Super Mario Maker, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, so anything else you'd like to say about it?
I mean, yes, the game is incredibly cheesy, and it turned me off at first because it was like, oh, this is just another stupid like Mario game that's directly aimed at kids. But the later levels get so intense that it's hard for me to imagine a kid beating it. Like, You know the later levels in Super Mario 3D World? I don't know if you ever got to like Champions Road or any of that stuff. Did you?
I believe not.
Okay, but it's hard for me to imagine a kid ever beating it. I struggled with it like for hours in Super Mario 3D World, and I mean this game is easier than that, but there are hard levels that come at you late in the game, and it's just like, wow, this is impressive that Nintendo like thinks so much of the kids that play this game that they can beat these levels. But anyway, I'm gonna give the game a 4, which I think in retrospect is low, a 4 out of 5. But I also recently switched to a 5-point grading system for games, so that's why it's not perfect or it's not amazing. So it's a 4.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a great Mario side scroller, and you should not miss out on it. So a 4 is no longer a bad sounding score anymore from me. It's basically the equivalent of this game is not perfect and it's not incredibly amazing, but it's still very, very good, and it's still worth your time. So that's sort of how we do it now.
So speaking of your 5-point scale, I think we should touch base on this just a little bit for our listeners. And you know, I've been going on a 10-point scale, really giving like 4.5s and 3.5s here and there. But the last few weeks, I've tried to keep it simple and just down to solid rounded numbers.
Yeah, why is that?
And that's just, I feel like it just gives too much variation, and it makes it harder for me. I'd rather judge a game based off of whether I feel like it's worthy of playing or not. And so I think the 5-point scale does a better job of really getting to that. And we talked about, like, what would a 1 be, Spiegel?
Well, a 1 would be a game that should have never even been released. It's just really bad, and it's just, don't even touch it. Like, don't even look at it.
It's like
Pretend
hardly a game. It might not even work. So that'd probably be a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
Yeah. So let's give an example for each one.
And then a 2 would be more, it's just not a very good game. Yeah, it's not a good game, or it's, again, riddled with plenty of glitches that really bring down a maybe like mediocre experience.
And that's exactly so what would a 2 be? A 2 would be the next game I'm going to talk about. So we'll get to that in a minute. And then a 3 would be just kind of a mediocre game. Like,
yeah, it has good, it has good, bad.
Yeah.
So like, I believe I recently gave was my most recent 3 out of 5.
A game I gave a 3 was Yoshi's Story. There's some good stuff in there, like I really like the art style. It's a good platformer, but it's ultimately just too short. It's too easy, and it's not an experience that you really need to go back to a lot. I also gave New Super Mario Bros. 2 a 3 out of 5 for lacking in gameplay depth.
I most recently gave Banjo-Kazooie, which you'll probably hate me for. And,
yeah, I'll eviscerate you for that. That's a 5.
The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I gave both of those 3 out of 5s, and it's more just because there's not much there. Banjo-Kazooie, it's the controls and the camera can be really frustrating, and some of the game design is just not good. And part of that might just be because of what I played it on, but right. I just don't think it's as polished as even Super Mario 64.
So a 4 we already talked about. A 4 is a game that is very, very good, just is lacking that one like crucial thing that makes it an amazing game.
Yeah.
In the case of New Super Mario Bros. U, it's a slow start that makes you not want to keep playing. And that's also the case with Twilight Princess, incidentally, which should also be a 4 in my book, even though I do love that game once it gets going.
That game just takes so long to get going that
it just doesn't get going ever.
For me, I couldn't give it a 4 out of 5 just because it takes me 5 hours to actually get into the game before you get through the Goron mines and it actually starts to open up. But I can definitely understand a 4 out of 5 for it.
And then a 5 is obvious. We don't really need to, it's great.
A 5 for me is pretty much, for that genre of game, it is pretty much as good as you are going to get. It still might have issues, but it's a masterpiece.
And so the other reason we chose the 5-point scale, I think, is because it's a really easy way to recommend games to people. Like, someone might not want to get a game that's a 4 out of 5, or rather an 8 out of 10 on an 8-point scale, But if you present it like this is a 5-point scale, like a 4 point out of 5 game, like has a few flaws, but you can like get around it and it's still really good. If they're interested in it, they're going to go for it.
And I think it goes that way with even a 3 out of 5 game. If a 3 out of 5 game has some parts of it that really interest you, the fact that it's overall average, I mean, doesn't matter because you still think you're going to be able to get some enjoyment out of it.
But good luck recommending a game that's a 6 out of 10 to somebody, even though it's basically the same score. Because a 6, the gaming industry is now like so perverted by Metacritic, and I'm not saying Metacritic's a bad thing at all. I think Metacritic's very useful, but the problem with Metacritic is anything that's below a 75 is a yellow, and a yellow does not look good. A green looks good. Buy a game that's green, not yellow. So like no one's gonna buy a game that's a 6. It's why Star Wars Battlefront being a 74 right now, or 73 or whatever it is on Metacritic, is so bad for that game's sales. It's not doing well.
And it's sort of been going down that path for a while. Like for a long time, you would consider getting a game that was a 7. Like I remember Mario Kart Double Dash getting an infamous 7.9 from IGN's. I think it was Fran Mirabella.
Should have been a 9.9. That game is great.
And it just, people blew up over it because at that point 7 was considered just horrible, and it just goes to show that
gaming used to be a thing that you didn't waste your money on. You only bought good games instead of the crap that comes out every day now, like Assassin's Creed and Madden and
I actually
whatever.
think it's just that there's too many games nowadays that people are just ready to gloss over anything that seems like it might not be anything less than a masterful game.
Yeah, I think you're right. About that.
Actually, I really want to talk about this really quick. I know we've gotten sort of off base because we're supposed to be
We
talking
are
about
way
52,
off topic,
52.
but you know what? Who cares? We're just
this
going.
This is Effortless, everybody. So a good 2 out of 5 game would be a game that I told you last week I really wanted to get. And that was Mario, I believe it was...
Oh, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash.
Yeah, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash.
Came out today. Today, Friday, November 20th, 2015.
It sounds like it's a definite 2 out of 5 game because it has like some of the gameplay there, but it's just such a bare bones experience. There's nothing there.
They're expecting you to pay $50 for this game. I'm offended by that.
There's
like
nothing there. I guess you could say it has online.
There's no single player mode.
There's no single player. Like there's no tournament amiibos. The way they work, you can't play against your amiibo. So you can't train your amiibo.
You can only play with your amiibo.
Yeah, you can play with your amiibo. So your amiibo is pretty much for 2 versus 1. That's it. 2 versus 1. Or I think maybe you can play it against other
doubles. You can do doubles with it, but it's pointless because I was watching IGN's review of it, and it's like the amiibo sucks. It just hits the ball at you every time.
And one of the great things about Mario Tennis on the 64 is just like all the mini games. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember trying to, and this same thing with Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast, is it had so many amazing mini games where
I mean the mini games are dumb and they suck, but like they're still fun.
They're fun.
They are. They're bad, but you like them though, and it's fine. And it gives you
fun.
options.
I mean, I know Superman 64 gave a bad reputation to flying through rings, but I like hitting balls through rings. Okay? Period.
Oh man, I didn't see that coming. So yeah, and let's talk about another 2. This is a game I'm giving a 2, and it's called. It actually came out exactly 1 week ago. It's called Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Now I haven't talked about this at all.
Wii U, not on a good roll.
No, but I brought up the fact that Deg from the ZBN was going to be visiting me over the weekend from his hometown of Las Vegas. Not his hometown, but his town that he currently lives in. And so he came all the way over here from Las Vegas, and he just made it to my store before we closed. And he's like, I'm buying Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, and we're going to play it tomorrow morning. And I said, okay. So, because I had no intention of buying this game.
Actually,
I thought
that's what you were thinking.
Exactly. I thought this game looked awful, and then I played it, and it wasn't awful. But this is an example of a 2 that is just, it's not there. Like the game's not done. It was so slow, and it was so. All you do is you move around this board, and you just land on spaces, and it's just a board game. And it didn't need to be one. Like it could have just been anything. And they charged $60 for it. Although, for what it's worth, pre-owned at GameStop, you can get it for $30. I found that out when I went in there the other day, and they were selling it without the amiibo for $30, and I'm like, that seems about right. This game should have been free to play, paywalled behind amiibos, because that ultimately would have been like just a better decision. The game would have, honestly, the game wouldn't have received as much criticism if they hadn't charged $60 for it, even with the amiibos. So, bottom line, game is completely luck based. It's not really that big of a deal whether you win or lose, because like it's kind of like an everybody wins, like you participated, type of that culture that kids are being taught today, where it's okay to be a loser, that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah,
we talk about that later. But it's just not even worth it. Like, and that's just the number one thing I can say about the game. It's just the charm in the world cannot mask a game that's just not even worth it. So don't buy it.
It's not broken. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's just bad. I mean, there are games that are just bad, and it's not very common these days, because I feel like developers know what it takes to make a compelling game. They just don't know how to make a game work. So games end up being like broken with like terrible controls or lots of pop-in or graphical problems. But this game has none of that. It's extremely polished. It looks great, and it's just not a good idea. It's just a bad idea. And Nintendo themselves even said a couple months ago, I don't have the article, but they said, like, we just made this game because we wanted Animal Crossing amiibos. And I'm like, well, that's great, but the game sucks. So don't buy it. It's a 2 out of 5, whatever.
Perfect. I love it.
Yep.
So any teasers for next week?
I am playing Yokai Watch. I intend to finish it. It's going to be a good score, everybody. I don't know. It can't be a 5. This is one of those examples of a game I wish I had a 10-point scale for, because it's really more of a 9 out of 10. But I feel uncomfortable giving it a 5, so it's probably going to get a 4. Just a little. That's your teaser. I already gave away my score for it.
So see, that's the beauty of the scores, because it's not a masterpiece, but it's
not,
a good game.
And you know what? I have to look at it objectively. Like, is this game a 5? No, but it's a 4. There's a lot of good things, a lot of things to enjoy, and I definitely, for me, it's closer to a 5 than it is a 4, but for you, it's probably a 4. So objectively, got to give it a 4.
Yep.
And that's totally fine.
I think it sort of allows you to try to be a little bit more objective. There's no way you can ever remove your subjectivity from reviews.
Right, but you know it's not a 5,
yeah.
So you have to give it a 4. So I think that's another good point.
So for me, my teaser is I'm working on Tomb Raider, and
the first one, right?
Yeah,
not the first one, the reboot.
The reboot, because Rise of the Tomb Raider recently came out this past week, I believe.
Yes.
And I had started Tomb Raider a long time ago, and I just never beat it, and I don't know why. So I've gotten back into it. When I started, my save file was at like 26 or 27%. And now my save file is at, I think, just under 50% or a little over 50%. So I'm not sure how much I have left, but I feel like I'm starting to get towards the end of it, which is good.
So and that the fact that you just mentioned Tomb Raider provides, surprise, another excellent segue for this excellent show that we do, and that is the fact that Today, I am going to be buying Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now, you may ask...
Oh, you decided on Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I did decide on Rise of the Tomb Raider. And here's why. I'll get to that in a minute. But, so anyway, you may be asking yourself, Spiegel, why are you buying Rise of the Tomb Raider? You don't have a console to play it on, unless you buy it on 360, which is just freaking stupid. Like, why would you buy a 360 game at this point? I'm not buying a 360 game. I'm buying it on Xbox One. And the reason I'm buying it on Xbox One is because I am buying an Xbox One today. It is happening. I am jumping over to the other side, and I'm becoming of this horrible gaming generation that I hate so much.
I love it.
And people have been asking me why the sudden change of heart from PS4 to Xbox One. And the answer that I have to give you is the games are there now. The games are there right now. Xbox One has games that are worth playing, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, like Rare Replay, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, Ori and the Blind Forest. They're all there for me right now. And in fact, that's the bundle that I'm getting. It comes with Rare Replay, Gears of War, and Ori and the Blind Forest. It's $400, and
what a great... Oh, man.
And like GameStop is having a pre-Black Friday thing, like until the 21st, where if you buy an Xbox One, you get a game for free. So I'd be stupid not to do it, right?
I feel like you would be, because I enjoyed Gears Ultimate. I actually really am looking forward to hopefully playing some Gears with you. I know you've said, "Oh, I'm not getting Xbox Live," but
I'm not
I am
paying
getting it for
$60 a year.
I am getting it for you. I will find a deal. There's plenty of deals where it's on sale for $35 a year, or I'll just make you use a 14-day free trial.
Well, I'll use a 14-day free trial and play Gears with you for sure, but I'm not gonna. I just don't like online. You know how I am.
Yes.
I'm not. Like, I don't even want to use a headset. I don't want to buy a headset. They're like $70.
It comes with a headset, so you don't need to worry about that.
Does it? I didn't even know that.
Yep, Xbox comes with a headset.
I've been selling these things for a year. I didn't even know they came with headsets.
It's a cheap headset, but it is a headset.
All right, well.
And I actually just received, I was sort of complaining about this not long ago, that backwards compatibility came to the Xbox One, but Microsoft was saying, oh, we're not going to give out vouchers for people who have Gears Ultimate to get Gears of War 2, 3, and Judgment until December. Well, 2 days ago, I received my vouchers for Gears of War and Gears of War 2. Still waiting on 3 and Judgment, but I do have the first
Let's
two
be
games.
real. Let's be real. You can keep waiting on those. That's not a big rush.
Yeah, and
Right.
So I want to play with you as soon as
All right,
you can.
we'll do it
I'm
at some
ready
point.
to play Gears of War.
All right, we'll do it, I guess. Man, I love Gears of War. I can't wait to revisit it and see what they've done. Like, I don't usually get excited for remasters, and to be honest with you, I'm not really excited for this one. But I do want to revisit the game. It provides a good excuse to do it because I'm getting it for free, so whatever.
Yeah.
And what a great deal. This holiday bundle that GameStop has 3 games and a terabyte Xbox One for $400. And that's and the free game included, the free $60 game that goes until tomorrow, which, I should have told you about that deal a couple days ago. It would have actually helped you because you're not going to go out and buy an Xbox One right after listening to this show. But anyway, it's a fantastic deal, so I'm going to take advantage of it, and here we are.
Awesome. I'm really happy.
So the reason I chose Rise of the Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
by the way, which I have to bring up, is I assume that Rise of the Tomb Raider being released as one of the better games in this holiday season of like crazy big releases, Halo 5, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Call of Duty Black Ops, Fallout 4, and Star Wars Battlefront, all coming out within basically a 4-week period of each other. Tomb Raider is going to get kind of lost. And I'm worried that the price of that game is going to be reflected in the future as, like, not many people bought it, so not many people are going to trade it in. I'm not going to be able to get it for a cheap price. Fallout 4, I can probably get in... I mean, shoot, Batman Arkham Knight is $30 now, just 5 months down the road from its release. So I'll be able to... When I'm ready to get Fallout and play it, I will be able to get it for a cheap price that's probably less than $40. Tomb Raider, I'm convinced, is probably going to remain $54.99 for a very, very long time, at least until middle of next year. And I want to play that sooner rather than later because it looks really good.
Yeah, and I will say, now that I'm further into the reboot, I am regretting not playing it sooner.
I'm absolutely going to play that reboot very, very soon. Probably as soon as... I've got an order of games I want to play after I finish Xenoblade, and that's on there.
So, yeah, I really want to play the next one because I feel like the reboot has some things that are a little off with animations or controls. And I feel like just having another iteration will allow it to be a better game. And I'm really excited by the fact that they decided to make this game an Xbox exclusive so that they could just focus on one console. And really optimizing it to run well on one console.
Do we know for sure that this game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, is not coming out on PS4? Or is it going to be one of those like ambiguous like BioShock type situations where it's exclusive for like a year and then it's like, oh, no.
It is going to be exclusive for pretty much a year. Crystal Dynamics is not going to have anything to do with the port. They're pretty much outsourcing the port to another company. So it's
going to suck.
It wasn't developed for 2 platforms at once. I mean, unless you count the Xbox 360 version, I guess. It is.
I don't even understand how that game even exists. Like, I haven't seen a screenshot of it, but I imagine it probably looks terrible. I mean,
it actually doesn't look that bad.
Really?
Yeah, Digital Foundry put up a video comparing Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox 360 compared to Xbox One. And, I mean, it scales back a lot in terms of lighting and foliage density and textures and whatnot. And the big thing being the image quality, because it's 720p I don't believe that they have a lot of the post-processing elements in place, like the anti-aliasing that's in place on the Xbox One version. But, you know, it doesn't have Tress FX. It doesn't have really pretty hair. But it runs.
Yeah.
And it runs. It sounds like in some places it actually runs slightly better than the Xbox One version. That's like an unusual circumstance. For the most part, it runs much better on the Xbox One.
I had just assumed that with Activision's or whoever made the 360 version of Black Ops 3, after they neutered it and it just was awful, like I imagined that games just can't run on 360 anymore, but it's just not true. There's not enough of a gap between the consoles to like you could have made Fallout 4 for 360. It would have been bad, but you could have made it. So
yeah, speaking of Fallout 4,
I was actually going to say, do we have time to talk about this? I don't want to rush our top 50 anymore, man. We have like really good games to talk about.
We do, but I actually don't really have much to say about my games this week, oddly
enough. Let's spend like 3 minutes on Fallout right now.
Okay.
We'll move
so
on.
Fallout 4, and I just want to talk about this. It is receiving good scores. Let's be very clear. It's
was it like an 87 on Metacritic, right?
Yes, it's an 87 on Metacritic. So it's not a bad game at all. But ironically, that 87, I don't think that would get it. If it was the same thing as Obsidian's situation with New Vegas, Bethesda wouldn't be getting a bonus. But I don't know if you even know about that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, so go look it up. There's with New Vegas, because of the Metacritic score, Obsidian, which made New Vegas, they did not get a bonus for the game, so they lost a ton of money on Fallout New Vegas, even though New Vegas sold extremely well.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and Obsidian almost went under after that happened. So there's a bit of
Fallout.
Oh,
hey,
nice.
Wow. So an 87 is not enough to consider the game a game of the year, right? Because The Witcher earlier in the year scored a 92 or something on Metacritic.
Did it really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Actually, yeah, 92.
Honestly, it sounds like the big problem with Fallout 4 is it is too much of the same. And a lot of people are sort of there are some reviews, like, for example, and this is a big one that's been receiving flack. No surprise here, this one is from Jeff Gerstmann over at Giant Bomb, who
hates everything.
He is no stranger to controversy when it comes to reviews. And he gave it the console version, I believe he gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars. So he's just been getting blasted for that review. But the reason is the game just doesn't run well on console. And it's too much like the Fallout 3, Skyrim. It is too much in that vein. There's not enough setting it apart from those games. It's essentially the same kind of experience. And yes, we love those experiences. But at what point are we going to get tired of those experiences? We want something new.
A lot of these reviews start with, this is more of the same. Giant Bomb says, there's a great game in Fallout 4, but how much of that greatness gets through to you is dependent on your own tolerance level for glitches and how willing you are to play another game from the same template as Fallout 3. Time says, I can't shake the feeling. I'm really playing Fallout 3 Season 2. Eurogamer Italy says, Fallout 4 is a huge, charming, and deep experience, but it's too similar to Fallout 3. CG Magazine, it really feels less like Fallout 4 and more like Fallout 3.75. It's just like all these reviews are just saying it's basically Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Which we were talking about, is that a good thing? I mean, because Fallout 3 was amazing. But at the same time, I also tried to play Fallout 3 this week, and I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it. And that's sort of why, I was looking forward to Fallout 4 at first, but the more the more exposure I got, the more I was like, wait a second, what is this game really doing other than making all loot have a purpose because now you can build a city? Like, how else is it different? And when I think about playing The Witcher 3 and the way it introduced all of its quests and cutscenes and how characters interact with each other, and I look at Fallout 4, Fallout 4 1, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good compared to The Witcher 3 or other games that are coming out at this time on next generation or current generation consoles. So it just, what's there? There's not much saying like, even with in terms of like, oh, it's something shiny and new looking. It doesn't even look shiny and new. It's more like playing Fallout 3.5.
There was a great line in one of these reviews, and I can't find it right now, but it was like, playing Fallout 4 has proven to me one thing. It is not war that never changes, but Bethesda. And I'm like, that's so perfect and accurate. Bethesda just is always going to make these types of games. And it's, I mean, you either like it or you don't. And honestly, I did like Fallout 3. But I just don't know. I just don't know if this is going to be... This is why I'm waiting, basically, is what I'm saying. Is what I'm trying to say. Is I'm waiting because whether or not this game is great, it's just not worth the investment for me right now to play a game that's just riddled with glitches and is just this like mess, basically. And I'm just not... That's not what I want to do right now. I can wait. I'll play it when it's more polished later. And I feel like a lot of people have taken the same route as me in that department. I've been asking a lot of people at work.
There's one thing I have to tell you, it's that it's not going to be more polished down the road.
Well, it's not going to get worse. So.
No, but a lot of the issues that exist, like falling through the map and those glitches that we used to find funny, they're not so funny anymore. They're just sort of a nuisance.
I'm trying to find this. There's one other review. Here we go. This is from the New York Daily News, and they say, I think this will cap off our Fallout section here, is the wasteland has never been this beautiful, and it's never been this muddled and flawed, and maybe that's exactly how a wasteland is supposed to be. This is Fallout 4, arguably the most anticipated game of 2015, and a beautiful, elegant mess. And that sounds about right, doesn't it? They gave it an 8 out of 10.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. And I really wanted this game to be amazing, but I said this when they first revealed the game. I'm like, it looks like Fallout 3, and it looks like that came to pass. So basically just listen to me whenever a game is revealed, because I'm always right, it seems, about these games. So let's move on.
Yeah.
So, real quick, before we go to top 50 and finish this out, I wanted to mention, last week we brought up the idea that we're going to be doing Game of the Year awards for every year from 1985 to the present. We're still planning on doing that. We're still workshopping it. We've been talking about it in the ZBN chat on Skype for like the past couple days, and we're like fighting over what games should be nominated. I decided to make it a whole like group effort that the whole channel is going to award these games Game of the Year awards, and we're going to announce them on Effortless probably. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody was involved, because that's just who I am. I'm a nice guy.
And it's been a fun experience.
Oh, it's been so much fun. Like Chase yesterday was like, I think we need to take a break. I'm tired of all this fighting. And I'm like, the fighting is the best part. That's why I love it. I love fighting over whether, System Shock or Tekken should be nominated. It's great.
And I sort of feel bad for PC gamers out there, because I'm like the only person really fighting to get PC games even nominated. I
mean, look, a lot of people just haven't played them. So, like, how do you expect us to nominate a game like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream if we've never played it? It's an unfair expectation. But that's why I wanted you involved in this, is because I knew you'd provide that voice. And whether or not the game wins, a nomination is good enough. I mean, a nomination is good enough to say, look, this is a potential game of the year. You should go play it.
Yeah.
So,
which
that's
is
basically
exactly
what we're
how
aiming
it should
to do.
be.
Yeah. We're almost creating a bucket list just by doing this. So we've made our own bucket list thing obsolete, but that's fine. We haven't added to it in weeks anyway.
Yeah. So now,
okay. Yeah. So now
we are up to our top 20 games.
Time for the big guns. This is where it gets really good, people.
And would you like to start, Spiegel? Number 20.
I'll start. Number 20 for me is, this is a good one. I want to move this up now that I'm looking at it. It's Animal Crossing New Leaf on 3DS. And after playing the Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival on Wii U, I really started to miss this game, because all the charm that's in that game is in Animal Crossing New Leaf, but it's actually a good game. Animal Crossing New Leaf on 3DS is frickin' loaded. It is like you could play it forever probably.
It is the only Animal Crossing that I've really been able to get into.
It's so deep. There's like a million things to collect. You can build onto your house seems like endlessly. There's a giant museum where you can create more rooms even if you start running out of stuff. The online connectivity is fantastic. Whenever you street pass somebody, their house appears in your game and you can go buy their furniture directly from their house, and it's just it feels like this gigantic interconnected world of people playing Animal Crossing and you being in that world. And your neighbors are great. They all have great things to say, as always. The game is incredibly well balanced. You're the mayor of this town, so you have a lot of abilities to do things and change your town that you never had in the past. It's just great. It's it's
You'll
the
also
perfect Animal Crossing game.
grow a
on
new
mobile.
appreciation for bug catching stag beetles.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to move it up now that I'm looking at it. This game was amazing. It sucked probably 150 hours out of my life, and now I want to go back to it again. It's a perfect game for the 3DS. Just play it whenever.
Yeah.
Just play it whenever.
Good choice. Man, filling out your museum collection, though, whew.
It's so addictive.
That takes
though.
a long
It
time.
takes over the course of a year, but if you're dedicated enough, you can do it. And
Yeah.
I've never done it, but maybe someday.
And I don't know. One of the great things about Animal Crossing is just it's a game where you can play it pretty much every day and just put like 15 minutes into it and just do sort of like your daily chores.
The funny thing is, like, those
But
types of
it's
things
rewarding.
Those types of things are perfectly suited for like a mobile game, but Nintendo just gets it so right on their platforms. It's crazy.
All right, so my number 20 is Metroid Zero Mission.
Ooh, man.
And for a while, this was actually my highest rated Metroid on my top 50. But this year, it's actually fallen back behind other
one?
Metroid. Yeah, so. But Metroid Zero Mission, it is my favorite 2D Metroid. Sorry, Super Metroid is not going to be above this one because I feel like Zero Mission just streamlines that Metroidvania style of gameplay so well.
It's Metroid, right?
Yeah, the backgrounds are gorgeous. It's the original Metroid remastered or remade for the Game Boy Advance.
Right.
Backgrounds are gorgeous. They went with the awesome sort of comic book kind of art direction, and it really shows. Everything's really colorful. The music sounds fantastic. The remastered music that they used for the game. The new moves translate well. It's a very short game, which is probably its biggest weakness, but with the amount of, it doesn't have as much sequence breaking, but it's still there to a degree. So with speed running and doing low percentage runs, there's a lot there if you want to do that. I just sort of like to play the game and experience it however I want to. I'm not too big on doing the speed runs. And one of the things I love about Zero Mission the most is the Zero Suit Samus section. I think it's still the only game where you can play as Samus without her power suit, correct?
I don't think that's correct because you play as her in Metroid Other M. Right?
Oh, man.
That game sucks anyway. Don't even think about it.
We don't even consider that one a Metroid game.
That's not even a game. Forget Metroid game. It's not even a game. It's just a thing that exists.
Zero Mission, that's what I loved about it is you try to escape the planet SR-388 and you crash because of the space pirates and you lose your power suit. So you feel very, very vulnerable. The only thing you can do is stun a space pirate for like 2 seconds, maybe even less, and try to escape from them and hide from them. And it just added a brand new element to the series that hasn't been there before. Really mixes up the gameplay, and it also fleshes out the story to a degree. So Metroid Zero Mission, definitely my favorite Metroid. If you haven't played it, it is available on the Wii U Virtual Console.
No, it's not.
Or eShop. No?
No, it's not.
I thought it
no,
was.
If it was, I would have played it by now.
Oh, is it only Zero Mission or Fusion?
It's only Fusion and Zero Mission is available only in Europe. So thanks, Nintendo of America, you screwed us out of the best Game Boy Advance Metroid.
Well,
game.
if you're in Europe, go get it because it's awesome. Otherwise, go to find it used somewhere.
Yeah. Number 19. We need to move a little quickly, but I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say about this one. It's just Super Mario World. It's just one of the best Mario side scrollers ever made. Actually, it is my favorite Mario side scroller. It's actually down 6 spots from where I had it last year, but I just had so many games that had to go ahead of it. It's really, really good. The power-ups are great. It's the first Mario game to really have like secrets, like by the dozen. You know, there's a lot of secrets and stuff to discover in that game. And it's just so well designed. It's gorgeous to look at. It still looks fantastic. I love playing it on my gamepad. You know, just like with my headphones plugged in and just listening to it on the little gamepad because it feels like I can take it on the go. It's so cute. Great game. Great, amazing game. Best Mario side scroller ever.
Definitely. I actually, when I replay it now, if anybody's played the Game Boy Advance remake of it, I really liked how they changed it so that the ARB trigger does the spin jump.
Yeah.
And then you have the regular jump so that they're not both on face buttons. And it just really sort of opened the game up for me.
I also really liked the Game Boy remake, and I feel like a lot of people rip on those remakes on the Game Boy Advance, but I think a lot of them are pretty good. Like Zelda 2 is way better on Game Boy Advance than it is on NES.
So I actually like to remap the controls on the Wii U version so that I have the R trigger for that jump again. But anyway, my number 19, I'm not going to really talk about this much. For me, it's Counter-Strike: A Global Offensive, and I just like Counter-Strike so much. Global Offensive has finally replaced Source for me, so I bumped Counter-Strike Source off of my list, replaced it with Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Global Offensive just has a much better matchmaking system. It has that balanced gameplay that the series is very well known for, and it's team-oriented. Like your teammates will work with you, and yeah, you come across some jerks, but for the most part, people are very open to communicating and trying to win. So Counter-Strike Global Offensive, that's my number 19.
My number 18, and for the people that were complaining about lack of diversity on my list, is BioShock on the Xbox 360, the spiritual successor to System Shock on PC.
The game that I almost bought an Xbox 360 for.
BioShock is a game that places you in the middle of the depths of the ocean in this great little city called Rapture. And it's so dark and it's so artistic, like it's almost steampunk style. I wouldn't quite go that far, but it tells an incredible story. One of the greatest stories in video games can be found in BioShock, and it's so moody and atmospheric. Like everywhere you go in the game, you get new powers that you can just shoot out of your modified body, basically. Like you can shoot swarms of bees at enemies, which is fun, and then. There's just all these great little locations as you uncover more and more of the mystery of Rapture and just like how the city fell. It's so good. It's unbelievable. And like I said, talking about it just makes me want to go back and play it. And I think that's the mark of a great game. Just thinking about how good it is makes you want to play it. BioShock. And it's like $7. So you are doing yourself a serious disservice if you don't go pick up this game from a GameStop or whatever.
All of you who have not played it, would you kindly go buy it?
Yeah, it's so good. I want to move it up. I moved it up from last year, too. I moved it up like 3 spots, so it's now in my top 20.
You didn't even catch that. I'm so disappointed.
Wait, what? What?
You'll figure it out when you listen to the...
you tell me you got to wait till I edit it. Dang it. Okay, well.
All right, my number 18, Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 version I actually vastly prefer because of the increased frame rate and increased draw distance. PlayStation 2 version just runs so slow with that frame rate that it's sort of painful for me to play at times. It actually detracts from the game a lot when I first tried to play it. But it is just such a beautiful world. I talked about it when I talked about Eco last time. Eco sort of replaced Zelda's dungeons for me. Shadow of the Colossus replaced Zelda's exploration for me during that generation of the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. It is just such a beautiful world. There's so much variety to the world, and I think that's what really makes it come to life, is because you're going through this world and it's like, oh man, I'm suddenly in this forest, and now I'm like in a canyon. I'm finding this mist, like this lake that just has a mist rising off of it. A field full of geysers. I mean, really all it's missing is Death Mountain. So... Shadow of the Colossus, that's my number 18. Great game. The boss battles, too, are just so epic. It is amazing how empty that world is, yet how full of life it feels.
Let's see. Number 17 for me is Time Splitters 2 on Xbox. Now, I could have copped out and picked the GameCube version, which is the version that I own, but I remember many times going over to my friend's house when I was in, like, junior high school, and we'd break out Time Splitters 2 on Xbox because it is so...
Because it's awesome.
It's freaking loaded. It has so many different modes, and they're all a blast to play. Pun intended. The Xbox controller is like perfectly mapped to first-person shooters. It was just given the Halo treatment, honestly, and it just feels really good to play. The Xbox controller is gigantic, but it's spread out to the point where you can reach all the important buttons that you need for time splitters. And I just honestly, it feels a lot more precise than the GameCube controller. And don't even play it on PS2; it's a mess. I've played all 3 versions. GameCube is second best.
It's still fun on PlayStation 2.
But it's still fun, but the controls are a mess. I really like the story mode. It tells a really interesting story where you're like going back in time as all these different people, and you're like trying to find these time crystals. But you have to like deal with a bunch of other interesting characters as you go through these levels. And there's one particularly memorable one where you go down into like this Aztec village, and you have to fight all these like gigantic stone golems that are like running after you, and it's terrifying, but it's awesome at the same time. Everything and also this, I know, did Team Fortress 2 come out before Time Splitters 2?
I don't believe it did.
So this game kind of set the precedent for like hilarious first-person shooters, because this game is loaded with comedy. There's a lot of just funny stuff. Character descriptions are funny. There's like weird weapons that you can throw bricks at people, and the punching sound effects are like straight out of a comic book, and there's just a lot of good stuff. The missions in this game are particularly difficult. This is a very, very hard game, but it's addictive to the point. It's kind of arcadey. You want to just keep trying because the missions are so simple.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough about how much I love this game and how much it's still worth playing. It is still the best pure first-person shooter of of 2 generations ago, in my opinion. So it has to be played. It's so good.
Good choice. That's it. So my number 17 is Star Fox 64.
Whoa, someone will be happy about that.
Chris? Oh yes, I absolutely love Star Fox 64, and it is a game that's really meant to be replayed. And with my top games, that's something I always look forward, is whether it's a game that I feel I can replay it or not, or if it's a game where it's just I try to replay it and it's nope, not happening. Not the case Star Fox 64, because of all the branching paths, because of all like the new story elements that are introduced if you do those branching paths, and trying to find the warp paths. The first time I came across a warp path in Star Fox 64, it was just like, wait, what? That is in this game? That is crazy, because I had no idea. So I don't know. I'm really eagerly anticipating the new one. I hope it captures the same magic as Star Fox 64 had, because it hasn't been there since.
How weird is it that an on-rails shooter can be so good that it lands in somebody's top 20? Let alone one that's now almost 20 years old. Crazy.
And man, I loved the N64 Rumble Pack with it, because
I was gonna say, did you play with the Rumble Pack?
Yeah,
I never
the Rumble
have.
Pack on the N64, I felt just like gave so much. It's not like modern Rumble Pack or modern Rumble and controllers, I feel like, that exists now. It's just weak. It feels like there's nothing there. It's just this annoyance in your hands going zzz. So
this one was like a freaking earthquake. It's like you're holding an earthquake. It was great.
It was more like a force feedback kind of situation. So yeah, Star Fox 64. I also really like the combo system of Star Fox 64. They got rid of it for Star Fox Assault, and I felt like it really hurt the game. They're bringing it back for the new one, so looking forward to it.
And then we'll move on to my number 16, which is, this is a good one. This actually dropped a lot this year, and I feel bad because I still really love the game. It couldn't.
You clearly love it. It's still in your top 20.
Yeah. It's Worms 2 on PC, and this is the second Worms game, not Worms Armageddon. It's like
a PC game.
A PC game,
Spiegel's
believe it or not.
List. What? My mind is blown.
Well, don't get used to it because this is the last one. But hey, I had Grim Fandango on my list. Shut up. And 3D Movie Maker way back when. But Worms 2, for me, it struck the perfect balance of creative weapons, and the other Worms games got a little too intense and crazy for me, wild. This game was it was very simple. You could make your team of worms. You could make stages, which was great. You could make all these incredibly creative battlefields to go on. And of course, there's always there's always your friend you'd be playing online with, and it would be a picture of something like a body part, but it was still funny. And you'd throw banana bombs at them and they explode, and you could alter every weapon to the point where you could make them incredibly powerful or not powerful at all. My friends and I would do this thing where we would make one weapon really powerful and all the rest of them worthless, but we wouldn't tell them which one was the powerful one. so they'd have to like figure it out. So that was really fun too. And what I'm saying probably doesn't make any sense. Worms 2 is like a turn-based strategy game. If you've never played any of the Worms games, I'm sure you've heard of the Worms series.
Yeah, it's based off of that classic game formula. I can't remember what the first game is. It's more of you have a cannon and you adjust your angle and the height of how far you're going to shoot it, and you try to defeat your opponent using that weapon.
If you like Angry Birds, you will like Worms. Basically.
I loved games like those for quite a while. Actually, I even got pretty deep into an online version of it called Gunbound, which sort of threw some twists on it. But Worms is definitely a great game.
Worms in general is just very funny. It's produced by Team 17. You'll find that a lot in my top 20. It's just games that have like this crazy personality, because that's just what I like. I like over the top, and once I get Bayonetta out of the way, that'll probably end up on there too. I wouldn't be surprised. I love games with the personality. What can I say? And Worms 2 has that in spades, and it's just very fun. Still, it's a game that came out in '97 and does not feel dated at all. It just feels very fun.
Whew.
That's it.
Man, that's your top 20 to 16.
Yeah. What's yours?
All right.
What's your 16 here?
My number 16 is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Oh, yeah.
And this is my top 3D Zelda game.
I cannot say enough about this game, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, there's one more Zelda game I have above it, so it's clearly a 2D Zelda. Majora's Mask, though, I mean, I love Majora's Mask. And again, I talked about just now, replayability. And Majora's Mask, I feel like, has so much more replayability than every other 3D Zelda game. And it's actually a game that I feel gets better the more you replay it.
Don't you feel like every time you find something new?
The first time you play it, you don't know how to handle, you don't know how to cope with that 3-day time system, just that clock always running down. It stresses you out. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't know when to save. But when you play through it again and again and again, you're just like, oh, this is simple. And then you start realizing that, hey, look, every single townsperson has their own schedule, and they keep like just this very detailed schedule. I would just follow people through town. I remember following Anju through Clocktown like a week into when I first had the game. So there was no way I could complete her quest, but by the time I could complete her quest, I knew exactly where she was, when, what time of the day. I was definitely a great stalker in that game. So Majora's Mask, really, if you haven't played it, play it. If you have played it and didn't really like it, but you like Ocarina of Time, play it again. Okay, just pull it back out, play it until you like it, because you will.
One thing I will say about this game, and this is the only thing I'm going to say, is that I'm a person who personally thrives on like having this crazy big to-do list where I can fit everything like almost like Tetris. Just like, oh, I'm going to do this today at this exact time, and that gives me just enough time to get to work, or like just enough time to like get back home and do this thing that's time-based or whatever. And I found myself the last time I played this game, which was very recently, making a schedule for the game. I'm like, okay, at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to play the inverted Song of Time, and then I'm going to have enough time to get here and do this before this event happens, and then I can do this and get that heart piece, and then I'll have time to get back there and do this. And it was incredible. I was scripting out my days because I knew the game so well, and it was amazing. I had probably more fun playing that game this last time than ever before, and I've played it maybe 15 to 20 times all the way through. The game is incredible, people. Get over it. It's amazing.
There are plenty of people out there who try to beat the game in as few rounds of turning back time as possible, and I love that about the game. And it's sort of a disappointment that you can't have a perfect 3 days. It would be really cool if you could. There are just like a few things that occur at the same time, preventing a perfect 3 days.
Yeah, there's no way to really do it.
Yeah, but it's impossible, unfortunately. But even so, it's still a really, really cool game. And that time system, although it's hard to get around at first, it adds too much to the game when it's all said and done.
What a great way to end the show, talking about Majora's Mask.
Man. Exactly. What a great game.
Oh, man, the top 15 only gets better. I'm looking at my list. This is an incredible list for me.
That's my number 16. I mean,
I don't even know what's ahead of it. Yeah. Man, I just got so many good games in here. Okay, we got to stop. But thanks for listening, everybody. This was Effortless, and man, I put more effort into talking about these games than ever before probably today. So I hope you enjoyed it. This was episode 24? I don't know. 25? 24? Episode 24. We're going to do the Game of the Year awards soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that. It'll say in the title, it'll be like the Game of the Year awards episode or something.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I need to think of a name for this.
It's just not often enough that it occurs. And I think we might even bring in some guest speakers for those too, right?
Yeah. It's possible. We'll think about it for sure. Next week, there's not going to be an episode on Friday like there almost usually is. I'm working on Black Friday at 4:30 in the morning, so unfortunately, I will not be available to do one. But I don't know. Just go easy on your local retailer if you're going out for Black Friday. Don't run people over. I mean, don't frickin' like stab anybody. I mean, if it's a really good deal, I mean, stab away. But like generally, don't stab anybody.
Yeah.
Right. That seems to be like America's policy on it. It's like, don't go crazy on Black Friday. But if there's a really good deal, you can do a little bit.
Black Friday. We were going to talk about that a little bit more today.
We were going to talk about how Black Friday sucks, but I think it'll be better after I have Black Friday stories to tell you. So maybe on Saturday next week. I think I'll be able to do one on Saturday.
There are some good deals, as always.
Yeah.
But just got to look out for them.
We'll see. Okay, thanks everybody for listening. This was Effortless. I'm Dr. Spiegel. He's Dr. Piddle. We're ask the doctors questions. I don't know.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the working week. Oh, I know it don't thrill you. I hope it don't kill you. Welcome to the working